Hello, this is a Tradesight recap. I wanted to walk you through how Tradesight can work for you on any given day by showing you not just one trade, but sort of what we offered our subscribers from a Forex, futures, and stock perspective on Monday, November 19th. And actually, these trades begin on Sunday night for the Forex market, but let me walk you through, first of all, our trade call on the euro-dollar that we had. Here's a look at the euro-dollar, and we had set up to go long over the R1 level was our call for everybody. That's this blue line right here. And we spent the early part of the session. Right now, this chart's up to a 5-minute chart up to date on the Japanese Asian session last night. And let's see how we played out as we moved forward during the market on Sunday evening. And I'm going to kind of skip through here pretty quickly just to get you up to speed as to where things went. So there's midnight. That's the beginning of the European session. I'm on Mountain Standard Time. And again, we had two calls. One was to go long over R1, that's this blue line up here. One was to go short way under this S1 level, which was no longer in play at this point. But as you can see, as the European session played out, kind of bounced around here a little bit, hit this move. Look how we move up and exactly to the pip stop out at this blue line, this R1 level that we had identified. So that's what we call setting the level. Okay, and then we get a little pullback. So now what we really like is the market has addressed this key R1 level that we were focused on. And what ends up happening from here, I'm going to slide the chart down a little bit, is on the next attempt of the R1 level, which comes a couple hours later. And again, we teach our subscribers to put their orders in. They don't have to watch the market in real time. Once you've identified key levels, that becomes not as necessary. As you can see, we triggered long right there. We use about a 20 pip stop just over that when you account for spreads and everything. Now our first target is going to be that TriStar green level up here at 28.17. Let's watch and see how that worked. So boom, within about 40 minutes of the trigger, we're up to the first target. We've sold half the trade. And then when we wake up in the morning, at this point we're already up, we move our stop under the R1 level on the second half of the trade and let it play out if it's going to. Now, that's great. That means we've already got a profitable trade in coming into the session. Now let's take a look at what happened in the futures market. So this is the ES futures. This is coming into the new session. And this is, I've slid the chart over, so this is showing the prior day, the Friday action, and we're about to jump into the new trading session. We're going to get a gap up here in the market. So when I hit this first button to skip forward a bar, you're going to see the big gap. It's a pretty big gap we got in the futures market on Monday morning. So here it is. But what we did was we gapped above our upper pressure threshold. That's this purple line right here. And that means that we are increasing the odds of what we call a gap and go session. Basically what we're looking at is the likelihood that instead of coming back and filling the gap to Friday's close, which happens about 80% of the time each day when you have a gap, we don't think it's as likely to happen today. And in addition, if you notice, that first bar, the high of that first bar is our R2 level right here on the market. So what we did was Mark Lycos called a long idea breaking above that R2 level, and what you'll see is as these bars play out, because we're getting the squeeze sort of, look at that move, we get an initial move, we get 6 ticks easily for our first target. He continues to adjust his stop upward, and then what's neat about that is not only do we get a profitable futures trade early in the session, but even though he gets stopped out of the second half of the trade in the money, it's really all we needed to do for the day, because watch how the rest of the day plays out in the futures market. Okay, and the reason that we expected this was this is the first day of the new options cycle, and you've got a short week this week. If there's going to be a good trading day, it's probably going to be Tuesday with a lot of range. We didn't have high expectations that today was going to play out with a lot of volatility, and it really didn't. As you can see here, some of these bars over lunch are incredibly tiny. And one more thing that was even more interesting is I've got the what we call our Tradesight Comer tool up on here, but I'm going to put one more tool up that we use, which is the Tradesight Seeker. I'm going to expand my chart out. And what you can see is, if you see these red numbers, okay, when you get to a 13 on the red numbers, that's going to be a sell signal in this case because the market's been heading up. And what I want to show you is after we come back from lunch here, even though it's still flat for quite a while, there's a head fake move that happens, which is that the market starts to head up. It looks like it's got some momentum and it might be breaking out. And on a lot of days, you might even still call some long trades for that last hour and a half or so of play. But what we knew that maybe a lot of people didn't was that we were getting a Seeker 13 sell signal on that move. So here comes the breakout. You can see the tick up. And right as the market breaks to new highs, and look at the volume down here at the bottom of the chart, it's actually picking up some speed here. Again, that's the type of move that might suck some people in, but we get a sell signal right here. And that kind of kept us from calling any trades. And when that happens, look how this plays out actually. Right after that, that's it. The market just kind of rolls over and dies. that line you see forming is the risk line. Kind of contains the market once you've had that signal. Okay, so again, we had the nice futures call and really nothing else to do in the futures market for the day. So far we've got Forex, we've got futures. Let's take a look at some stocks. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to flip through some of the stock calls that we made today and show you sort of, I'm not going to make them go by bar in real time to show how they played out, but instead just show you the entry points that we called and how they worked. And keep in mind, market direction from our measurement was pretty much green the whole session, so it's the long side plays, the buys that you'd be interested in. So here's CRUS that we called going long over 29.75. That's right in here where my arrow is pointing right now. Triggered about 5 to 10 minutes into the market. You can see how that one played out very, very nicely. We had another call on Amazon, which was long over 229.75. So basically, again, in the second bar of the day, right in here is where it triggered long, ran for several points. Another call was in Apple over 544.80. Now this one sort of did an early head fake. It was long over this level right here. I'll draw the flat line for this one just so you can see it, because what happened was, if I show it to you here in 5-minute bars, it looks like it worked very cleanly. In fact, it didn't. We retake these trades sometimes, and let me show you what that looked like on a 1-minute bar chart. So here is the trade. Again, the idea was to go long over 544.80. That's this line right here. We give about a point of room to Apple, so it triggered long right here in the 1-minute time frame. Came back about 1.5 points and sat down there. So you probably would have stopped out of that trade down in that area, but you can then turn around when they sweep like that, immediately take them again. And in this case, it ran at least 5 points pretty easily. So you should have made some money there as well. Although that's the only trade for the day that wasn't quite as clean as some of the others. And you'll excuse my my sound's going off as my alerts are popping here. And here's the VXX, Rich called short under 33.20. This is the tradable VIX. Again, the second 5-minute bar. We were right on top of market direction from the start on this one. We had a couple other trades that played out okay. They just took a little bit longer to play out. I'll give you an example. Was PDCO over 35.69. That's right in here on the chart. You know, this one didn't do much for hours and finally worked in the afternoon, but it never went against the trade at all. We were always basically at or in the money. So it's just a matter of whether you wanted to give it the time or not. So overall, a great day. But again, what we try to do, whether you like to trade just one asset class, or if you can expand your horizons and trade all of them, which we think makes for better traders. You know, a Forex trade that works coming into the day gives you a little confidence. You got a futures trade fairly early that works in your favor, and then basically 5 or 6 stock trades over the course of the session. And we had a couple of conversational plays in our lab in the afternoon that we were working on as well. But in terms of very specific trade entries and easy to make money on trades, I think we had a pretty good session overall. So that's what Tradesight's here to do.